Rant and resolution. This is where I rant and then I give a resolution. Today I want to rant about how to track your macros, or how to calculate your macros for a cut, a bulk, or simply for maintenance. So when people generally try and guess their macros, they often way overshoot or way undershoot and get it completely wrong. But we got to remember that when we're calculating our macros, it is just a best guess. But that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to best guess how to calculate our macros. So before I begin, I want to say that you don't have to calculate your macros, or you don't have to track your macros. There's different ways that you can track your food, and I made a previous video here on how to track your food in different ways that's going to suit you and suit your needs and goals. Just so we have a basic knowledge, we got to understand that macros are made up from protein, carbs, and fats. And they all have calories. So protein has 4 calories per gram, carbs has 4 calories per gram, and fats have 9 calories per gram. So our macros are made up of calories. So then it's easier first to begin with to get our overall calories and then break it down into our macros, because otherwise we're just kind of guessing, picking these protein, carbs, and fats, and then we have really no idea what calories we're getting. So if we establish what calories we need per day, then we can break it down into our macros. Alright, so if we want to calculate the macros that we want to bulk or cut, we need to first calculate the macros, or total calories, that we need to maintain our current body weight. So to get our total calories for the day, we got to calculate our basal metabolic rate, which is basically the calories that we need just to survive. So if you lay in bed all day and did nothing, didn't walk, didn't do anything, that would be the calories you need just to maintain that weight, plus the thermic effect of activity. So that's the activity, or the workouts, or just walking around that we do. So the extra calories that we burn. So our basal metabolic rate plus the thermic effect of activity will equal the total calories burned for the day or for a certain period of time. So first, we got to calculate our basal metabolic rate. Alright, so first we want to calculate our BMR. We want to calculate the calories we need just to maintain our weight while doing absolutely nothing. Our BMR. So there's a lot of different calculators that you can use, or different formulas, but the Harris-Benedict equation is probably the most popular, so that's the one I'm going to stick to today. It's the one I use and it's pretty good, so we're going to use that one today. So for men, what you do is you use this formula. So 66 plus 13.75 by your weight in kilos, plus 5 by your weight, or 5 by your height in centimeters, minus 6.76 by your age in years. And then for women, it's 655 plus 9.56 by your weight in kilos, plus 1.85 by your height in centimeters, minus 4.68 by your age, again in human years. So just in case any of my American viewers don't know, 2.2 pounds equals 1 kilo, and you just basically plug your stats into this and you'll get your BMR. If you're over 10 years old, you probably know that you calculate the equations inside the brackets first, then the equations outside the brackets. And if you're under 10 years old, I probably wouldn't be too concerned about watching my videos or calculating your macros or your calories. Since the majority of my viewers are males, I'm going to use a male as my example and use the male formula. If you're a female, you can simply just put your stats into the female formula, which I've just rubbed off the board. So I've got a visit from my good friend Mike again. Mike is 80 kilos, 176 pounds, he's 20 years old, and he's 180 centimeters. So I basically just plugged Mike's stats into this equation and got the total calories, or his BMR, of 1,931. Remember, when you're using the equation, you have to use your weight in kilos and your height in centimeters. So I just plugged all the information in, and then I got a total of 1931. That's how much calories Mike needs just to maintain his weight without doing any activity at all. Now we got to calculate how much calories he burns from doing activity. So now that we calculated our BMR, we got to calculate how much calories we actually burn from activity throughout the day. So the thermic effect of activity is calories burned from exercise, or just activity, just your everyday job, or just walking around. So it's all the activity that you do throughout the day. So this is where you got to use your head, and you got to use a bit of intuition. You got to pick your activity levels along the bottom of the scale here, and then multiply your BMR by the corresponding number on the scale. So for example, if you're training or you're exercising 1 to 3 times a week, you multiply your BMR by 1.3 to 1.4. Whereas if you're doing double sessions and you have a really active job, you might multiply your BMR by 1.8 to 2. Then at the other end of the spectrum, if you have a desk job and you don't exercise at all, you multiply your BMR by 1.2. So use your head here, don't be an idiot. If you have a desk job and you don't exercise at all, don't multiply your BMR by 2, because then soon enough you won't just be an idiot, but you'll be a fat idiot. So for most people, it's probably around 1.5. You probably have like a desk job, or you might be a student. So you multiply your BMR by 1.5. So because of that reason, I'm going to use 1.5 for our example, or for our subject, Mike. So I simply took Mike's BMR, multiplied it by 1.5, and it gave me roughly 2,900 calories. So Mike needs 2,900 calories to maintain his weight at his current activity level every single day. So now it's pretty simple to get the bulking and the cutting numbers. So I made videos previously on cutting and bulking, and you don't want to go too fast when cutting, so you want to be conservative. You want to take away, say, 10 to 20% of your maintenance calories, and that equals roughly 2,500 calories for a cut for Mike. And when you're bulking, you want to go even slower. You probably don't want to go more than 10%. So that equals about 3,200 calories for Mike when he's bulking. So what I'm going to do next is figure out the macros. So when we're figuring out the macros, we basically just take our overall calorie number, and then we're going to work out a formula to get our macros. So if you want to cut, you just take the cut number. If you want to bulk, you just take the bulk number. And if you want to maintain, we just use the maintain number. So I'm just going to use the maintain numbers for the sake of simplicity. But if you want to cut or bulk, you follow the exact same guidelines. So now that we have the calories to work with, 2,900, we got to calculate our macros. So protein and fats are essential to the body, whereas carbs are not. So I always like to start with protein and fats, and then whatever's remaining from the calories, we utilize them from carbs. So for protein, based on the current research that we have, anywhere from 0.9 to 1.36 grams of protein per pound of body weight is going to be pretty safe. For fats, anywhere from 0.3 grams to 0.6 grams of fat per pound per body weight is going to be pretty safe. And then you just fill the remaining with carbs. So the remaining calories that you have, you just fill them with carbs. So for Mike, I'm just going to split it down the middle for simplicity's sake, and that's going to be 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight and a half a gram of fat per pound of body weight. Okay, so we said that we give Mike 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, so that's 176 grams of protein because he weighs 80 kilos or 176 pounds. Now we've seen earlier that there's 4 calories per gram of protein, so that equals 704 calories. For fats, we said we do 0.5 grams per pound of body weight, so that equates to 88 grams of fat. And we've seen that fat has 9 calories per gram, so that equals 792 calories. They both add up to 1,496 calories. So from fats and protein alone, we have 1,496 calories per day. Now in the previous step, we said we like to use or take the remaining calories and use them from carbs. So if we take away 1,496 from 2,900, we get 1,404 calories, and these calories are all going to come from carbs. So we've seen earlier as well that carbs have 4 calories per gram, so we simply divide total calorie numbers. So divide 1,404 by 4 to get the actual gram amount, because there's 4 calories per gram, and that equals 351 grams. So it's kind of messy, but we can see that the total macros for the day are 176 grams of protein, 88 grams of fats, and 351 grams of carbs, and they all add up to give us 2,900 calories per day. Now if you're doing a cut or a bulk, you simply do the exact same thing, except you just use the higher or lower number. And you can use a bit of variance. I said between 0.9 to 1.36 grams of protein, 0.3 to 0.6 grams of fat. So it's really up to you and your personal preference, and if you're playing around with the numbers, then you're going to be safe anyway. So that's my rant and resolution: how to calculate your macros for a cut, bulk or maintenance. Just put your numbers into the formulas and you'll get your exact macros. It's always going to be a best guess when calculating your macros, but it's better having a best guess than simply pulling some numbers out of the air. If you liked the video, you know the drill: like, comment, share, subscribe. Peace out. Bye.